Yeah, I just can't picture someone like Ron DeSantis, crawling around on his hands and knees through the pile of dirt to get to the pedo tunnel. So, that said, it's also not innocent. We've heard a lot of stories about why this tunnel existed, and it's changed a lot of different ways. But like I said, when it comes down to the blackmail stuff, that's not what this tunnel was for. Blackmail, usually it's a lot more like this. Oops, help if I had audio, right?
If you are ever somewhere and you all of a sudden see a 10, and I'm just talking physical attraction. Seeing a 10 is not an everyday thing. That's why they're 10s. Women are beautiful, but just objectively, that woman makes a scene when she walks through a room, and you see a 10. It's somewhere that they probably you wouldn't normally expect to see a 10. Like you're at a small town bar and you see like a supermodel walk in from Brazil. You're like, okay, that's weird. And then all of a sudden,
but we're in Akron. And it doesn't make any sense.
And then all of a sudden, they are very.
We're in Hoboken. Yeah. Why is there?
And then all of a sudden, they're very interested in you.
Yeah.
Just know that person is probably there on purpose, and they're very good at their job, and they are trying to put you in a compromising position. And so,
honeypot.
Yep, honeypot. I have found that the most common thing in Washington that is used to blackmail you and I can't, with whatever organization it's from, within our own government, is honeypots.
Within our own government?
Yeah.
So our own government agency is doing this? In order to have what? Like leverage on a member of Congress?
Leverage, yeah. I mean, you just saw that the FBI just got a building bigger than the Pentagon built for them.
Yeah.
And I mean, and then all of a sudden, think about it. 10 days before the vote was supposed to happen, it was likely it was not going to pass. 10 days before the vote was going to happen, they then, a story got leaked. Things don't get leaked from the FBI. A story got leaked that the FBI had been investigating a brothel in Virginia that is a very high-class brothel. It's $25,000 a night to get in, and just all the, elites that would go there and all of these things. And it said several members of Congress are on the list. But if you notice, they didn't release the names of those members of Congress. And what it was, and you can just take my word for it, right? But this is my hypothesis, is what it was is they're basically saying, go against us, don't give us this building, and it's going to be your name on that list.
Man. And you're going to have to prove the negative.
Exactly.
You better have an alibi.
Right. And then being in politics, you're not innocent until proven guilty. You're guilty until you can prove yourself innocent.
Exactly right, yeah.
Right. And so, that's kind of their whole move.
Did you ever suspect, did any chick ever come up and hit on you and you suspected they were a honeypot?
Oh, tons.
Really?
Yeah, but I mean, and I can't always say like, oh, that was from the intelligence community or that was from,
China
or
Israel.
That's real. Right?
Yeah,
come on, China.
Was that from the Democrats? Was that from the Republicans?
Sure.
Was that from this group?
Israel.
There's so many
Just
groups
say it,
that have
dude.
interest in public policy. I mean, it affects literally 350 million people in the world, and then the rest of the world because of it.
Yeah, 7 billion people. In the world.
And so I'm telling you, like, these people are very creative, and I've had a lot of women who I'm like, that wasn't that funny of a joke, and you're laughing way too hard. Like, I'm going to tell you right now. And like, I accept that I'm a decently good-looking guy. I got blue eyes, a decent jawline, but I also accept the fact, like, I'm in a freaking wheelchair. And I'm like, I don't know why, like, 3 10s all at one time are like, we should all go back together. And I'm like, no, actually, I don't think you guys are real. And then
unpack that story. So that happened?
Oh, yeah, that's happened multiple times. But it was not
like
in DC.
3 women.
Yeah.
They're all smokes.
All smoke shows.
And they come up to you and they're like laughing.
Oh, yeah, we're having a great time. We're having drinks.
Tell me about it. So,
so we're at a bar.
What happened?
We're not in DC. We're in Texas. Okay. At a bar. Everything's going great. I was speaking at an event there, so it was well known I was in that area. And then, I mean, I can just imagine, because I know how easy it is to follow, political opponents around. You just pay like a PI like $500 a day, and they'll just follow them around and be like, oh, they're here now. And so, it's easy to be followed around. Like, it's very easy to know where somebody is, especially if they have a public name. But anyway, so I'm at this bar. Everything's going great. And then I see a pretty girl. I was like, oh, hey, how are you? And then all of a sudden, some other really pretty girl comes over and joins her and starts talking to me. And then another really, really attractive girl.
Did they know each other?
Yeah, they're saying they're all friends. Oh. And then they're like, oh, and then, but they're not trying to go back to their table. They're just staying around me. And I'm sitting there talking to them. And then all of a sudden, I just kind of look around. And that, I have a little fire alarm going off. It's like, all these women are way too attractive. It's like, well, ladies, I hope you guys have a great night. I got to get back and all this stuff. And next thing you know, they're like, well, why don't we all come back with you? And
to your room?
Yeah. And I was just kind of like looked at him, smiled. And I was like, as fun as that sounds, I'm a man of God, so I got to get out of here. And man, but I guarantee, like, it's situations like that. It's like no guy is that lucky.
So that's not a grubby tunnel under under a Jewish building, not a grubby tunnel with dirt all over the floors. They've got fancy brothels for that. They've got they've got apartments for that. And a lot of these guys, I mean, they've been doing. They don't need to be crawling around in a grubby tunnel. Now that said. So what is it for, though, Devin? What is it for, then? Why do they have this grubby tunnel? Well, all right. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Why do they have this grubby tunnel? What's this grubby tunnel? And why is it that this got deleted, too? This got deleted, too. Literally the exact same day that the grubby tunnel story was hitting the press, or rather not hitting the press, but getting retweeted. You had this pop up. Wanted for public lewdness in Brooklyn. The individual was masturbating with his penis fully exposed aboard a southbound Q train, which, oh no, Q predicted this. Reward up to $3,500. Know who he is? Call 1-800-577-TIPS. Calls are confidential. Crime Stoppers. And it's the most guilty-looking Jew I've ever... Like, this should also never go away. As much as the tunnel Jew should never go away, that look on his face, this should never go away. But yes, Q predicted that he was on the Q train. He was on the Q train. Q predicted this. But they deleted this because of, well, it's anti-Semitic to point out Jewish behavior. Anti-Semitic. And as I said on Twitter, I said, well, can you blame the guy? His goon tunnel just got busted and he can only get off when he's underground. So he had to go use the goy tunnels. Not his fault. So yeah, like as much as that the grubby tunnel is not being used for, compromising politicians or heads of state or things like that, maybe guys like this, I mean, if the guy's whipping his dick out on the subway, I don't think he has a problem crawling around in the dirt. If he's willing to whip his dick out on the subway, I don't think that he's all that worried about like having a nice surrounding, having the cleanliness factor is not. I mean, have you been on a New York subway? I'd almost rather be grubbing around in that grubby tunnel. And look, I think that grubby rape tunnel or whatever you want to call it, who knows? We'll never get to the bottom of it because they're going to fill it up with concrete instead of what they should do is go down there with a fucking black light. They should go down with a fucking black light and just see what the hell's going on down there. Probably look like a Jackson Pollock painting all over the fucking walls if they did that. But unfortunately, they're going to fill it up with concrete before we get a look at that. But this is probably what's going on. That community of, as one might imagine, as we've covered in many ways, shapes, and forms over the years on this channel. They're degenerates. They're degenerates to a degree that most people are totally unaware of. Here's just one article, and this is just this is someone that attended this exact building. The creator of the Chabad's famous menorah sexually abused girl lawsuit claims. This is from the Jerusalem Post. The survivor of the alleged abuse, 36-year-old woman living in Israel, is trying to get possession of her abuser's brass menorah. Isn't that funny? Like, look, I feel bad for anyone who gets abused, but it's about money. That's really what it's ultimately about. She's trying to get her hands on the brass menorah, normally displayed at 770 Eastern Parkway in Brooklyn. A new lawsuit claims that the man who